Hello, hello. This is the My Artifact episode number 4180. Today's date is July 28, 2026. It's been almost like a night at 9:31 p.m. All right, let's just jump into the question. Let's go. All right. So, question is: should text also be supported? Should image be supported? Should video be supported? Okay, first of all, I didn't really understand this question, but okay, let's start from the beginning. All right, yeah. I wanted to build a such a AI that could predict the future. Why? Uh, because if I build a app or if I build a AI that could predict the future, it will gonna add so much amount of value to the humanity. When we predict the possible consequences, we gonna make mistake less. We already knew what will gonna happen, and we already been prepared. It's not a kind of like a things that you are kind of like imagine as a kind of like a somebody I could able to be see the future and things and that. No, it's a probability. Okay, yeah, means every kind of like a future that Adam means AI that could predict the future. The name is AI, this Adam. Okay, it predict the future with possibility point of perspective. Regarding our possibility point of perspective, it kind of give you confidence or kind of like give you percentage of confidence that he almost like a 70, 80, 90% of confidence that this might gonna happen. Okay, so if we could kind of like predict the possible consequences happen in the future, we would kind of like make sure that possible consequences should supposed to be happen for good reason, not for bad reason or things and that. Okay, if we could kind of like build such AI that could predict the future, it could massively add value to the economy, to the humanity. Yeah. But before I wanted to build such a AI that could predict the future, I wanted to aware of all the possible consequences. How do I supposed to be aware of that? By asking question to myself and giving the honest answer. So I went to ChatGPT. I tell that I wanted to build a such a AI that could predict the future. I wanted to aware of all the possible consequences. Suggest me hundreds question. ChatGPT kind of like a suggest me 100 question. This is one of those question. By the way, this question is a kind of like a very, I'm not really understand this question. Okay, yeah. The question says that should text supported? Should images supported? Should video supported? What exactly is this thing? Oh yeah, text, images, video. Maybe kind of like somebody the question might gonna say that key is your AI can generate the text, images or videos, or what exactly is this thing? Probably. Okay, yeah, because I don't really make sense at all, but still whatever I kind of like understand, I'm gonna kind of like okay. So it's a AI, but it's not a kind of like a generative AI. It's a prediction model. It is a kind of like a artificial general intelligence. Okay, actually it is kind of like a much more higher version of that. Artificial general intelligence is a kind of like a general intelligence of AI. Predictable model like a Adam is a predictable model. Okay, it kind of like a predict the possible point of perspective. Okay, yeah. So it is a predictable model. Okay, it's not a generative model. Well, basically it is also a generative model. It can also generate a text and things and that. It's not really that, but the main kind of like assembly, the kind of like a things that makes it kind of like a Adam can predict the future is because of it could predict the possible consequences. And how does it could predict? It could predict by the simulation. Okay, yeah, it kind of like a do multiple kind of like a simulations and things and that. Okay, yeah. So basically is this thing, can Adam will kind of like write a mail for me? uh Well, yeah, like if you ask that ki kind of like a, let's just say that if you ask to Adam, say that ki I wanted to kind of like a leave for 2 days, write me a mail for me, so that I would kind of like a send that mail to HR or manager, then I would kind of like a, yeah, so that they would kind of like agree to my get for 2 days of day off, right? Yeah, you could ask this thing. Okay. By the way, I think that na ki, okay, first of all, let me kind of like a clear up something about, okay, now, like these are kind of like a very common term, by the way, okay, like basically is this thing that ki write me a mail for me, or kind of like a write essay for me, or kind of like a generate the image for me, or generate the video for me, okay, or write the code for me, okay. By the way, code is a kind of like a really good thing, okay, yeah. But yeah, these are kind of like some stuff that ki write me something, okay, like basically is this thing, when you are when you are giving the instruction to AI that ki do me this, do me that, or maybe kind of like a something that something, okay, yeah, let's just say I kind of like a put the prompt regarding about which kind of like a something the headphone is a kind of like a much more better regarding about every possible point of perspective with highly budget and things and that. ChatGPT or Gemini will kind of like a search through hundreds of kind of like a possible articles and things and that. It compile all the information. It kind of like a tell you this is a kind of like a wireless earphone will kind of like a really good. It will kind of like in budget things and that. Right. So yeah, for this particular purposes, kind of like a typical AI, generative AI is kind of like a had enough. We have ChatGPT, we have Claude, we have Gemini. These are kind of like a sufficient. Yeah. Adam is a predictable model. It simulates the scenario. Okay, yeah. Like this is where kind of like a things are not like a, like basically this is platform is not for everybody. Okay, yeah. Why it is not for everybody? It is everybody. It's not really that you cannot able to be access. Normal citizen cannot able to be access. It could access, but still, like basically, I'm kind of like creating this platform for organization, for government. Okay, yeah. Like basically a kind of like such a people who are kind of like handling the particular community of the people. Okay, yeah. For those people who are kind of like organization level, government policy maker or things and that. For those people, I build this platform. This is not a platform for every person. Now, why not? Because of that, key, it doesn't really make sense at all. Example, let's just say is this thing that key um uh, okay, so so basically is this thing that key let's just say someone kind of like a simply like a you and your neighbors is kind of like a fight, okay, yeah, and you went to the police and like not police, okay, it's the kind of like very, let's just say you like someone stealing actually happened, like someone robbed your house, okay, yeah, you went to the police station, and suddenly kind of like something like that, instead of police, like a special commando people will kind of like came to you and they will say we will kind of like simply find you who will kind of like rob your house and things and that. No, it's not that. Okay, yeah. Like basically, it's a kind of like a typical robbery actually happened, and for that particular purpose, a kind of like a normal police is had enough. Okay, yeah, you don't need a kind of like a very special commandos and things and that for kind of like a things. Doesn't really make sense at all. Okay, yeah, like basically is this thing that key uh like basically is this thing someone kind of like hit you and kind of like you are ask your parents and parents can kind of like bring you entire tank to kind of like someone kind of like hit you in this, it just, yeah, that is not okay. So imagine as a kind of like Adam is a super high thing like intelligence, okay, yeah. And basically this intelligence is not for everybody. Not for everybody. I deliberately, I don't want, like literally, I don't want that my product should supposed to be used for massy. Oh yeah, and my target audience is not those people. Obviously, people are kind of like a really excited to know about that. Ki we could kind of like assembly have such a AI that could predict the future and things and that. People are really excited, but usually is this thing that na ki the like okay, let me tell you one thing. Why my product, why my AI, why this Adam is not for the massive people? Why not? The reason is that ki usually Adam has a power of simulate the scenario. Okay, yeah, it could predict the future. Like the one sentence is kind of like a had enough. Okay, yeah. Obviously, I would not gonna give this power to any random stranger. Definitely not. And that random stranger might gonna do search something or kind of like a simulate something that might be kind of like a create chaos and things and that. Like I don't know. Every person are really curious regarding about what will gonna happen in his life. But Adam is not meant for that. Adam is not fortune teller. It will not gonna tell you when you will kind of like get your girlfriend or boyfriend. Definitely not. Okay. Adam is a kind of like a build for a possible point of perspective to how you achieve your target or how you achieve your goal or how you execute your kind of like a implementation plan so that you will kind of like a get success more than mistake. Okay, so that is a kind of like a things. And basically normal day-to-day people don't really understand that. Normal day-to-day people just wanted that ki AI that could predict the future. Oh my god. Okay, tell me when will I get my girlfriend? I have got a breakup, so what do I supposed to do? Well, Adam is not a fortune teller. Definitely not. It will not gonna tell you when you will kind of like get a job or when you will kind of like get a girlfriend or things. It might gonna give you kind of like a suggestion or technique that how you should get a job or get a girlfriend, but it will not gonna kind of like tell you when or things and not exactly. Definitely not. Okay. Yeah. So first thing that key, basically the normal day-to-day user or normal massy people are not use platform the way that it should supposed to be. Like they will gonna use for like a very nonsense stuff. Yeah, like I'm deliberately saying this in nonsense stuff, but yeah, they will. Okay, and my platform is not meant for that. Reason number one. Reason number two, Adam runs on simulation program. Let me kind of like tell you something regarding about generative AI and predictive model. Okay, so generative AI means like that whatever the prompt that you put, whatever the then ChatGPT does, ChatGPT kind of like simply access the massive data that ChatGPT has it. Okay, yeah, and when it has, it kind of like try to predict the next word. Okay, and try to predict the next word. So basically, ChatGPT is kind of like a predicting what would be the next word. Example, you say write me an essay regarding about elephant. So basically, ChatGPT gonna kind of like write an essay regarding about elephant. Okay, yeah, it will kind of like access the entire information regarding about the elephant, how the elephant look like, things and that and that and that. And basically when it writes something, it try to write something that what would be the possible word would be kind of like a much more better for tone and things and that and that. It kind of like do a lot of like a lot of kind of like analytic process to kind of like a writing your tone much more better and things and that and that. Basically is this thing, ChatGPT kind of like a generate the content regarding about the content which is actually available. Okay, yeah, but simulation model or prediction model is not work on that. Prediction model is not generate the content, it simulate the scenario, it simulate the possible consequences. Let's just say is this thing that key you asked to the kind of like a Adam that key basically when will I wake up tomorrow, like it's a very common terminology but from understanding point of perspective, let's say okay, yeah. So you kind of like mention that ki I am a kind of like a something that ki like this is the prompt is kind of like a like Adam will not kind of like give you any kind of answer that when will I wake up tomorrow. No, definitely not, because Adam does not know you. Okay, yeah. So basically instead of that, kind of like somebody say this thing that key what will gonna happen tomorrow in New York. Okay, so yeah, you ask this kind of like you are kind of like wanted to know that key Adam could kind of like somebody predict the possible future or not. So you ask the prompt that key what will gonna happen tomorrow in New York. Okay, now New York is a kind of like a place. Okay, yeah, and Adam knows that New York, what is exactly New York, a place, things and that and that. Okay, yeah. So how does Adam will kind of like predict that what will gonna happen to New York? So basically, is this thing every prediction model or every like okay the I'm gonna tell you the kind of like a formula for world to reality to the universe. Everything is actually kind of like a happen through pattern. You wake up every single day, you somehow wake up at 7 a.m, 8 a.m, 7 a.m, 8 a.m, things and that you've been wake up like that. Okay, yeah, maybe you kind of like a someday you might gonna wake up at 10 a.m or maybe afternoon or things and that but possibly 100 out of maybe almost like a 90% you might gonna wake up at 7 to 8 a.m and things and that. Okay, 10% might gonna some people are kind of like a wake up very late and things and that but still every person is kind of like a follow the particular routine. They wake up, breakfast, do things, went to the office, do their work, came to the office, relax, sleep, sex, sleep. Okay, like this is kind of like somewhat something that key a kind of like somebody every person is kind of like following the pattern. Okay, no, not only just a person but kind of like somebody the organization, government, everything is also kind of like following the particular pattern. Example, if I'm gonna say that key Nvidia will kind of like a something that key will grow, definitely grow. Why? Because of that key AI boom is actually happened. Every AI company is kind of like a buying the GPUs. Okay, because AI kind of like a run on GPU. So yeah, the kind of like a somebody a charge sorry Nvidia will kind of like a somebody earn lot of amount of money and things and that. Okay, so what I'm saying is that na key basically is this thing pattern and probability. Okay, everything actually happened through pattern, and for that pattern should supposed to be happen, we need to determine by probability that key how much it actually happened. Okay, what is actually the possible ratio and things and that. Example, as a prompt that I mentioned, what will gonna happen tomorrow. So Adam try to simulate that tomorrow means what. It has to know that tomorrow means the day after today. Okay, yeah, so basically Adam should supposed to be know what is actually today. Okay, so basically let's just say a kind of like a today means like that key, let's just say same date, today is a 28 July 2026. Okay, yeah. Now basically the you ask that what will gonna happen tomorrow. Tomorrow that means 29 of July 2026, right? But the problem is that na ki I am from India. Okay, yeah. So basically your tomorrow and the New York tomorrow is a kind of like a much more different. Okay, what do you mean by that? Okay, let me tell you something. What do you mention? You mentioned that key what will gonna happen tomorrow in New York. Let's just say instead of India, I am kind of like I am in Japan. I am in Tokyo. I am the kind of like a citizen of Tokyo. I'm kind of like putting the prompt that key what will gonna happen tomorrow in New York. Okay, your today's date is a 28 July 2026. Okay, yeah. Now for you tomorrow is a 29 of July 2026. Okay, yeah, right. So basically is this thing for you, it should supposed to be represent that key tomorrow, that means your tomorrow, but Adam will not kind of like know you. Adam will kind of like show you the tomorrow of New York. Okay, what it exactly it means? It means that because of you are in Japan, you are in Tokyo, okay, and your today's date is a 29 of July, sorry, yeah, 28 July, but in New York it's a 27 July. Yeah, why? Because east to west, like basically is this thing that key west is a kind of like a bit more late than east, like a Japan are kind of like a first country to kind of like a like a Greenwich Meridian tour, like a GMT lines, like do you not really understand? Okay, these are kind of like a basic principle. Is this thing that time comes first at the kind of like a east side, okay, like a basically Japan, China, South Korea. These are kind of like some countries who are kind of like a getting time ahead, okay, yeah, and the kind of like a New York or maybe California, these are kind of like assembly, or maybe kind of like assembly the Hawaii Island, these are kind of like assembly are getting time late, okay, yeah. So basically this thing, since you are kind of like a typing, and for you today's date was kind of like a 28th of July, but actually in the New York it is a 27th of July, okay, because New York is kind of like a little bit one day less, okay, like almost like a how much, almost like a 12 18 hours of gap probably, okay, yeah. So basically when you say what will gonna happen tomorrow in New York, so it will gonna say this thing that ki tomorrow, that means today for the New York. So basically Adam will try to understand that ki basically it says that tomorrow means New York. So New York today's date is a 27, so basically for tomorrow that means 28. So it will try it will try to kind of like somebody predict the possibility what will gonna happen at 28th of July, which is kind of like a your today's date. It's a very kind of like it's a geography, dude. It's a like, if I try to explain the time difference, do you understand the time difference? Like it's a very simple thing, okay, yeah, it's a time difference. I'm not gonna explain this thing, okay. It's not basic science, but everywhere we go, kind time is a kind of like a difference. Like right now I'm in India, right now it's almost like a 10:30. Wait, I have a clock now. Wait, I have a clock. So okay, world clock, okay. So right now in India it is almost like a 9:53 p.m. okay. So if I went to New York, let's just say search New New York. So basically in New York is afternoon at 12:23 p.m. Yeah, so basically do you understand, it's a kind of like a time difference. All right, well, I'm not gonna kind of like talk about this thing, okay. The question was that the prompt was that key what will gonna happen tomorrow. So basically how does Adam will try to kind of like determine what will gonna happen tomorrow. Same thing, okay. Adam will kind of like determine what हो चिखल आहे बाहेर हो आणतो हो थांब थोडंसं आणतो okay. So okay, what was I saying? I was kind of like saying that how does kind of like Adam will kind of like predict the possible future, okay. As I mentioned, we are kind of like putting the prompt regarding about that what will gonna happen in New York tomorrow, okay, yeah. So basically whatever the kind of like Adam will try to kind of like determine what is exactly the average thing actually happened in New York, it kind of like represent exactly the same thing, okay, yeah. So like so basically imagine that tomorrow might be New York might gonna hit with earthquake, but Adam does not kind of like predict that. Why? Because earthquake does not happen in New York usually. Okay, so do you understand? So Adam might gonna fail, but is it Adam fail? No, Adam does not fail. Adam does not predict the future. Adam kind of like predict the possibility of future, that how much will gonna happen and things like that. And possibility will kind of like defined by the average point of perspective, like how much like basically how much kind of like a New York will kind of like tomorrow, it will be kind of like same as yesterday. Okay, yeah. But if the earthquake actually happened, Adam does not kind of like define everything at all. Why? Because Adam does not have that thing. If the Adam have a kind of like somebody geosensor data and things and that, or geological data, or maybe kind of like somebody the like a basically Richter scale or things and that, then Adam might gonna predict the possible things regarding about the tectonic shifts and tectonic plate shifts and things and that this might gonna happen, but still no, this is not gonna happen. Adam does not kind of like somebody predict the earthquake. By the way, Adam also predict the earthquake too. Okay, if like this is the kind of like one of the biggest thing about the Adam. Oh yeah, like basically I didn't mention like the 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 real crown jewel of Adam is not a Adam, is a Adam API. Okay, yeah, when you enable Adam API to your server, to your network, to your kind of like some this workstation, Adam will kind of like work so well because Adam is a data hungry. If you give them data, Adam will kind of like predict so beautiful possibility, just like mwah. Because of that, it work on probability architecture, and probability architecture is a kind of like something the like a universal rule. Like if I'm gonna say like what is actually the right and wrong, what is actually the universal rule? Universal rule is a universal like what is universal law? Like what is actually the one law that like a fix everywhere in entire universe? What is actually that law? Probability is that law. Okay, probability is that law. If you enable the Adam API with your server, with your network, with your kind of like whatever work that you do, Adam is a crown jewel, dude. Then Adam will kind of like literally can predict you when will earthquake actually happen. It will also kind of like a seismic activity regarding about every planet where it actually happened and things and that. It will kind of like a simulate the scenario because Adam is a really good at simulating scenarios. It does not have just information. It is the basic core principle of Adam is a algorithm. It's a prediction pattern. It's a simulation process. It goes through so many failure and kind of like a tell you the what is actually right possibility. Yeah, Adam can predict the possible future if you kind of like connect the network, connect Adam API with your network and things and that just it was blown out, blown like literally just like my god. Okay, but still that is also like as I mentioned, Adam API is kind of like a really good, but still people might gonna scared too. Why does people might gonna scared? It's because of that Adam is a kind of like a prediction model, and if the Adam would have kind of like access of kind of like information about the people, the government and things and that, people are might gonna scared that Adam might gonna control us. Yeah, I wanted to agree that thing, but I don't want to agree that thing. But look, let me tell you one thing now. Like basically, I have kind of like a two system, logic and emotion. Okay, so my logic says this will not gonna happen ever. Okay, like basically this is saying that na, Adam does not try to control us. If the people are kind of like letting them control, then Adam kind of like try to control, but Adam is kind of like giving them advice, a kind of like heads up information regarding about what should you supposed to do with the information that it is. Okay, it's not really that, but still, okay, that key Adam is not try to control because Adam is a machine. Is not try to it does not understand the consciousness. Probably it is just a machine with a kind of like a so much kind of like a lot of kind of like goody stuff and things and that. Okay, but my emotion says that no, if the Adam will kind of like simply access to the kind of like a network and governments and things and that, then probably Adam will kind of like become something like a Terminator and things and that, right? But my emotions are kind of like somebody comes from the experience, comes from kind of like somebody the whatever the kind of like somebody the humanity that kind of like a spread through that key artificial intelligence kind of like a take over the world and things and that. But logic is not say that. Logic is a kind of like a say this thing. No, definitely not. Okay, like let me tell you one thing. Why does Adam try to control the world or dominate the world or things and that? Okay, why? Adam is a machine, right? Like basically is this thing when Adam will have that kind of like assembly that key thought process that we should supposed to be dominate the world. And for why? Okay, let me tell you one thing. We are kind of like basically in nature point of perspective, every living system or any living kind of like a body will have a kind of like only two purposes. What is that? Two purposes: survive and reproduce. Okay, so basically is this thing, the nature is a like if I'm gonna say what is any difference between the living thing and non-living thing. If I'm try to understand things, what is actually living thing and non-living thing? So living thing have a kind of like every species, they have kind of like a two common thing. Okay, yeah. Survive and reproduce. Like a basically any living thing is wanted to survive himself or survive itself. Okay, yeah. Even if the plants literally they cannot able to move, but still they also wanted to survive themselves too. Okay, yeah. But how you so make sure about that? Okay, how you so sure about that? Well, basically this thing, why does kind of like a tree looks green? Why does kind of like a trees kind of like a somebody feels so dull when it's summer? Why does kind of like a trees kind of like a look so kind of like somebody bright up in the kind of like a rain or things and that? Why does kind of like a somebody like basically is this thing na ki survive means what? You have to understand things. Running for the life is that means survive? No, it's not. Okay, like yeah, it is a surviving, but like basically this is that there are different way to kind of like a survive. Some species could run for the life, some species cannot. Their survival is just like exist or kind of like somebody like like I don't know how I'm supposed to explain this thing, but like trees are also meant to be survived. They also kind of like a survive themselves. Okay, yeah. I don't know how they, but they will. And that is a kind of like somebody nature kind of like a things. They have kind of like somebody what makes kind of like somebody we are living is we have a kind of like somebody survive and reproduce, right? Every kind of like somebody the living thing kind of like a follow those two laws. Okay, yeah. Now what about the non-living thing? Why not those kind of like a non-living thing does not follow those laws? Because those are non-living thing. Okay, they don't really have conscious, they don't really care, it just exists. It just kind of like something exists probably if I'm kind of like a thing that. Now what about the machine? Can machine is non-living thing? Well, yeah, machine is also non-living thing, but we are kind of like a making machine so much kind of like a smarter, but it's not became a smarter. The way that machine is a kind of like a doing the work, it kind of like a feel like smarter, but it's dumb. It does not know what is actually life. It does not know what is actually is this thing. The basically is this thing that every emotion that we have, love, hunger, envy, or dominate the world and things and that it comes from emotion. It comes from kind of like somebody scarcity. It comes from kind of like somebody we actually feeling something of something having or not. Machine does not feel something. A mobile phone you put on freezer or lava or whatever it is, it does not try to survive. It just die or maybe I don't know. Okay, yeah. So what is actually it makes sense? It doesn't like machine is not. Okay, yeah. Then Adam might be a kind of like that. Adam is not that things not dude. What is actually Adam? Adam is a kind of like a super fast computer that could kind of like somebody do just very very goody stuff. Is it like basically Adam might gonna be kind of like a sense of smell. In the further future we would kind of like enhance the skills and enhance the kind of like a much more better. So Adam will kind of like a kind of like a feel the smell. Adam could able to be see. Adam also kind of like a see a lot of stuff too. It is not because of we are kind of like somebody giving them a kind of like a consciousness. We can't give them consciousness. Adam is just like it's a machine. Like a basically this is sometime we are humans and we are always try to see the kind of like a threat from all around the world, even if from the kind of like something that it's not even exist, like a machine and things like that and that. I don't know it sounds so sense or not, things and that, but my logic is kind of like saying this thing that key Adam will not be dominate the world and things and that. If someone kind of like let him, then it will be. But still, it's not. Because dominate the world, it doesn't really make sense. Like Adam does not kind of like understand that what exactly dominate means what. Adam will try to do kind of like as much as best as possible. Because Adam kind of like runs on probability. It runs on success. It runs on kind of like what is actually best. because of the past history of kind of like so many evolutions and things and that. Every day is a kind of like a better new day for yesterday and things and that. So even if you let them Adam to kind of like run the country, Adam will kind of like simply prosper the country. Adam will kind of like simply make sure that people will kind of like happy, educated, kind of like simply thinking about much more better way about the life and things and that. Why? Because does Adam kind of like decide that thing? No. Adam will kind of like run on the data which is kind of like feed by humans from thousands of years ago, which kind of like represent that kind of like a life is meant to be kind of like a live the way it should supposed to be. Education, healthcare, these are kind of like a really essential factor to kind of like grow over things and that. What do you think? Like, do you think that Adam will kind of like make babies of another Adam? No. I don't know. Yeah, like it's not possible. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm stupid. Maybe I'm shit. I don't know. Yeah, sometime kind of like saying I don't know, which kind of like a much more better than kind of like giving the explanation. But still, this is just my opinion, by the way. All right, yeah. Whatever. I'm talking about a lot of stuff, but let's jump into the question. The question was that should text, images, and video supported? Regarding about if the question kind of like represent that Adam will kind of like generate the text, images, and video. Adam does not generate the images. Adam does not generate the video. Text is a kind of like a thing that it could generate, but still Adam is not meant for that. It's also that it's not generate the image. It might gonna generate the image when it necessary. It might gonna generate the video when it necessary, because Adam has the entire information regarding about the human history and possible point of perspective on human thought process and things and that. So Adam does have that kind of like information. So Adam might gonna do this thing. Adam might gonna generate the image and things, but I don't know. I never really think about that, and my purpose is to not to make the kind of like a Adam to kind of like a some generative image model or kind of like a video generating model. No, nothing like that. It's a simulation program. Whatever. I have to be end here. Is it? Is it? Thank you.